Well, good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? I know I've been gone for a long time, but I took some time off. I had to relax and get caught up at work and get back into a normal routine and rhythm, which I've successfully done now. So I'm so happy to be back. I again apologize for my attire. I just got done doing a workout because that's another thing I'm trying to get back into the rhythm of doing on a regular basis. But I hope everybody had a great holiday. I hope everyone's had a good couple of months, had some time to relax and spend time with your family and your friends. It's so important that we all do that. So I hope everybody had a chance to do that, and I hope we're enjoying our crazy Houston weather, which is summer-like one day and then winter-like the next, which we'll have over the weekend, and then we'll be back in the 70s on Monday. So I guess we'll get our winter 4 days coming up here in a few days. But hey, let's talk about some stuff. Some stuff is a little more difficult to talk about, but you know what? If we don't talk about things, we're never going to get things done. And sometimes we just have to be able to talk about things. So let me say this. So of course I watched the State of the Union address last night. I'm sure many of you did. If you didn't, well, that was your choice. But I think it's always important to watch those things and see what happens and see what's said and see what you agree with and don't agree with, because that's how our political system works, quite frankly. But again, we have this, sometimes we have this desire, if you will, to not talk about certain things. We're afraid to talk about certain things. We're afraid we're going to upset somebody, or we're going to, I don't know, do something. But we have to talk about issues that come up. And there's tons of issues to talk about. And I will talk about those. But there's one specific issue I'm going to talk about only because of what I saw last night on the State of the Union, and then things I've read, whether it's on social media or whatever, and posts. And I hate to read so many posts about certain things based on information that's not true. And I know there's a lot of that. And we could probably talk about a myriad of topics that deal with this particular subject of making posts on things that aren't true. But here's what I'm going to talk about. Here's what I have some issues with I'm going to talk about that actually can stem to other issues when we start grouping people based on their political affiliation or whatever it is. And here's the deal. Here's the thing I'm going to talk about. So our president, I couldn't believe he made these statements last night in the State of the Union, by the way. But our president talked about abortion, and he talked about the execution of babies on the delivery table, which is ridiculous to begin with, that he would even talk about it in this particular manner, especially in a State of the Union address, quite frankly, any address that he would give or speech. But we need to talk about that because, again, we need to make sure that we're talking about things based on facts, not just because somebody says it and says, oh, it's true, because that person said it. And here's why I say this. So I read lots of comments last night and today, and again, I'm somebody who, when comments are made based on things that aren't true, and when we're grouped into things like, oh, you're a Democrat, so you believe in these things as a group, then the record needs to be set straight. So I'm going to set the record straight. And here's how I'm going to set the record straight. I'm going to talk about the few things that I see in comments that I want to specifically address to you right now, so I can set the record straight. The first one is that, Democrats are baby killers, which is absolutely not true. What Democrats believe in is that abortion in our country is legal, safe, and rare, which is exactly what it is. And the statistics prove that. Over the last many, many, many years, they prove it. And, we can have a debate about any part of abortion. But here's what I can say about it. There are circumstances that exist. This is for me, by the way. There are circumstances that exist that an abortion is a viable answer to the situation that's there. And certainly that comes into play when it comes to the life of the mother and certainly the child. So there's one instance that we have to talk about. And do I think that abortion should be used as birth control? No, I don't. And I don't think many Democrats do, to be honest with you. But this is why we have to maintain sex education to our kids during the course of their schooling when they're growing up. And this is why we have to maintain affordable and accessible birth control, because these things are the things that lead to lower abortion numbers, which is exactly what has happened. And oh, by the way, just to give you another statistic, over 90% of abortions that are actually carried out occur less than 13 weeks into a pregnancy. Those are the numbers. I didn't make them up. Those are the statistics that are out there. You can look at the Center for Disease Control. There's many sources you can look at. But those are the numbers. And about 1%, maybe to 1.4%, it depends on which statistics you look at, are abortions that occur, if you use the term late-term abortion, post 24 weeks. Those are the numbers. And the truth is, and this is why I'm making this comment about the comment that was made last night at the State of the Union, talking about the abortion law in New York and in Virginia. And I can tell you, if you understand or read what those laws say, the comment the president made last night is absolutely ludicrous, because what he said last night is illegal in New York and Virginia and any other state, because those are considered, if a woman has a baby and it's alive, it's considered a live birth. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are, and that birth is executed as a live birth, and the doctors and the nurses and the medical staff react accordingly. That's what the law says. So even the thought that that anyone voted or approved a law that would allow the execution of a child post-birth is absolutely ridiculous. So if you want to make comments about it, make comments based on the truth, not comments based on something somebody said, which is absolutely not true. So that's the first part of it that I want to set the record straight. The second part of this I want to set the record straight at is somehow this all gets often flipped into, well, you also, because you're a Democrat and you kill babies, that you don't believe in God, or you're going to end up in hell, something to that nature. These are many of the comments I've seen, by the way. I'm not making this up. These are comments I've read. And let me just tell you this. I'm a Democrat. I'm a Christian. I go to church. I believe in God. And the truth of the matter is, if I lived my life with the burden of somebody else's wrongdoings on my shoulders, then I'd probably live a pretty miserable life. The truth of the matter is, I'm responsible for what I do, and I'm responsible for the things that come out of my mouth. And I like to use facts and truth and data to support the things I say. And so the truth is, do I miss church every once in a while? Yeah, I do. I'm human. Life happens. Things occur. But the bottom line is that for me, I am the only one, when the time comes to have to answer to God about anything I've done in my life or any decision I've made. And the same comes true for anybody else, for whatever they do in their life, including if a woman decides to have an abortion. You know, her and her partner are the only ones that have to deal with the circumstances and the repercussions of making that decision. And you know what? If they believe in God, then they're the ones that have to answer to Him when the time comes. Not me, not you. They do. So, you know, this is truthfully how I feel, and I hate that we continually get put into this grouping where because you're this or that, this is what you believe. You know what? Here's my thing. If you want to know my stance on something, ask me. I will be more than happy to tell you my stance. I don't want you telling me what my stance is. Ask me what my stance is, and I'll be happy to tell you what my stance is. And that is open to anybody that ever wants to ask me what my stance is on anything. because there's a lot of things we need to talk about that are difficult to talk about. This is one of those subjects that's difficult to talk about, but we need to talk about it. Other subjects that are difficult to talk about, what we need to talk about is mental health issues, PTSD. We need to talk about suicide. We need to talk about healthcare. We need to talk about drug pricing. We need to talk about the fact that, you know, as a capitalist country, which we are, which I believe in, it's a great living. We have a great country, which is built on capitalism, by the way. But the reality of it is that we can believe in capitalism, but we don't have to be the best friends with big corporations. We don't have to be their enemy either. There is always a medium, a compromise ground somewhere to find solutions to problems. So, you know, that's what we need to do. That's how international diplomacy is done, by the way, too. You know, it's not always a, you know, I have to win and you have to lose. That is not how life works. I'm sorry to inform you, but that is the truth. So I'm sorry to come back and have some of these kind of conversations, but I think they need to be had. And those other things I talk about, these are things I'm going to talk about as we continue these videos as time goes on, because I'm not going to stop doing them. I may not do them every week, may do them every couple of weeks, but we're going to hit some topics as we go along, and things that I think are really important. And certainly those things I mentioned, certainly mental health issues, PTSD, other things we don't like to talk about in this state anyway, is really taking care of teachers and teacher retirement funds and public education. We give it a lot of lip service. Our elected officials give it a lot of lip service, but they don't actually do anything. They do what they think needs to be said to get elected, but then they don't do anything. And if they do something, they try to deceive us in what they're actually doing. So you need to pay attention. And that's the whole point of this whole thing, is if you hear or see something that sounds ridiculous, like, oh, maybe executing a baby after it's born on the table, maybe you should go do some research and actually look up what those laws in those states are. It's not that hard. It's called Google. It's easy to use. Some people should try that before they actually go posting something. So anyway, I hope people are paying attention. If this creates a conversation, that's great. If you don't like it, that's great too. You can comment. Anyone's free to comment on my page, as you all know. And I welcome it, because good political debate is healthy, and good political competition is healthy. So I want you to keep that in mind. By the way, just to end this out, I know it's a little long, I'm sorry, but just to end this out, I do want you to know that I'm considering what I'm going to do next. I haven't made a decision yet. I will, in the near future, I'll say, on a decision of what I'm going to do next, but I'm looking forward to it, whatever it may be, perhaps something exciting. It'll always be exciting. I just haven't decided what it's going to be yet, but I certainly hope you'll be there to support me. I've appreciated your support all this time, and I hope I can continue to appreciate your support. And again, if you don't like something, or you have a comment, or you have a question, fire away, because I'm not afraid to answer questions. I've said that from day one. You want to know something? Ask me a question. Anyway, I hope everybody has a great week. We'll talk to you in a week or two. And take care of yourselves. Take care of your animals. It's going to be cold this weekend, so if you have animals, you make sure they're inside. Make sure your potted plants and things like that you need to bring in because it's cold, bring them inside, and be careful, because we don't get cold weather very often, but when we do, you know, we have to make sure we consider everybody, including our four-legged friends. Anyway, yeah, everybody have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.